Hello, everybody. Today is Saturday, March 14th, 2026. Greg Marino back with another video. All glory to God and Jesus Christ. I got a great video here for you today. It is actually 12:20 in the morning, so I'm going to speak a little lower than normal because I don't want to wake up my neighbors. They're probably partying. I don't know. I had a long day with work, and God had put it in my spirit. You got to do more. And so I came home after my 12-hour shift, and I finished up this video, and I got a great video here today. Today's video is entitled, Do Not Date the Worldly Woman. 17 reasons why you should not date the worldly woman. Buyer beware, right? Return to sender. Today's video is going to be up on Life Enhancement 123 under lifeenhancement123.com under video number 179. We're getting close. I had put it in my spirit some time ago to do 200 videos. We're going to get very close to that. But I want to start today's video off with two verses from Proverbs. Proverbs 31:3. Give not thy strength unto woman, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. Right? So, we obviously know Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. And so the backsliding that Solomon did is the reason why he suffered at the end of his life, and God judged him for that. Let's go to Proverbs 31:10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. And, Solomon talks about this in Ecclesiastes 1:9. It says there's nothing new under the sun. He couldn't find a virtuous woman back then, and it's still that difficult. And I want to start the video here by saying this video primarily is to help men have a heightened sense of awareness about what is lurking behind the mask of the modern worldly woman. Most likely you, my friends, my male cohorts in my audience, you just met a woman at the club. Maybe you met her at the gym. Or maybe you've been spending time online and you met her on a dating site. Now, I talk about this often in all of my videos. Stay off those dating sites. These worldly women are lurking in the shadows of those dating sites. They're not even in the shadows. I'm sorry. They're right in front of your face. And they're worldly women. And there's 17 reasons why in this video you're going to find out why you need to stay away from these worldly women. They're prevalent on the dating site, okay? They're damaged goods. You're taking away somebody else's trash. These are women who don't want to work on themselves, but they want to in some way find this perfect man that's going to complete them and that's going to erase all the evil that exists within inside these women, right? But not only am I doing today's video for the men out there that are on dating sites, going to clubs, meeting women at the gym, I'm also doing this video to help the godly women out there who believe that they truly are of God. This video is to help you to do a self-assessment of your walk with God. And if you are guilty of any of these 17 reasons that I'm about to describe in this video, then you have to seriously reevaluate your life. And you need to stop claiming that you're virtuous. And you need to stop deceiving yourself. And you need to start working on yourself spiritually, doing the inner work, trying to understand the source of why you're portraying one of these reasons that I'm giving to the men in my audience as to why they should not date you. So I'm not saying there's no godly women. Of course there are, right? I haven't met any, but I know they exist in the world, okay? And to the defense of the women, I haven't been going out trying to look for women in years now. It's been years. So I can't speak other than the women that I meet, you know, in public or in my car. I can't speak to these environments, but I do know what I remember when I did frequent those places, and they were all worldly women, right? And I want you women, before you beat me up and claim that I'm attacking the women out there, I understand that a lot of the traits that I'm going to describe in this video, many men in this world who have yet to step into their alpha king status, who are betas pretending to be alphas, do possess. I do know that. And I want to make one thing very clear. In my experience, in all the people that I meet, these worldly qualities are much more prevalent in women than they are in men. And with that, let's begin. All right, guys, important video. Number one. Okay, so the number one reason why you should not date the worldly woman is your spirit is going to irritate her demons. Now, I talk about this in a lot of videos. I want to nail this point down in this video because it's very important. What we possess as men of God, when we go out there into the world, we are a light to the world. And without us, this world will be in utter darkness. So we inherited this light through our sacrifice for God and Jesus Christ, growing closer to them through God's word. And every day we make sure, as a true man of God, that we don't lean on our own understanding, but in all ways acknowledge God, and we fear God because we understand that that's the beginning of all knowledge and wisdom. And so by doing that, right, we're offering protection to those who are around us. So we need to be very selective at who we decide to bring into our hemisphere. And there's many guys out there, myself included, I have been guilty of this in the past, not now, that don't understand their value in respect to the spiritual world and how important it is to make sure that we're equally yoked with our partner and that we're grounded on the same belief system. Amos 3:3, can two walk together except they be agreed? The answer is no. You need to be grounded on the same belief system, and you need to try the spirit. Because a lot of the worldly women come packaged in something that is of God and Jesus Christ. They're trying to deceive you. We're going to get to that later. But let's bring up a verse in this, Matthew 8:28. And when he was come to the other side into the country of the Gergesenes, I butchered that word, there met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by the way. And behold, they cried out, saying, what have we to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God? Art thou come hither to torment us before the time? So I brought that verse in because I want you to understand the demons in this particular instance. This is when Jesus Christ was going over to the man tormented by many demons. They call him Legion. And no one wanted to go near him. He was crazy, ripping off his he had shackles and everything. And he had this incredible strength, demonic strength. And as soon as Jesus walked near them, the Spirit of God that exists within Jesus Christ, the Son of God, not God in the flesh, get it straight, okay? Even the demons know he's the Son of God, okay? The Spirit that exists within Jesus Christ irritated the demon inside of this man, the demons. So your spirit, because you are now following that narrow path, Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. You are a sheep of Jesus Christ, so you're emulating that spirit. And that spirit in this verse here irritated the demons so much that they said, are you here to torment us? You know, Jesus didn't do anything. All he did was walk near them. That's how much the Spirit of God irritates the worldly woman. Just like these demons were irritated by the presence of Jesus Christ. And my testimony on this, I talked about this in a previous video. But I do have some new subscribers, so I want to reiterate this. The last job that I had, the first day that I was at that job, there was a woman there who was irritated immensely by my spirit. And it progressively got worse each day that I was there because, again, I had the Spirit of God in me. I resonate in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. She couldn't even be near me. She was constantly trying to figure out what she needed to do to cure or quell the torment that demon inside of her was causing her. And so she tried to attack. She realized I was too strong. She tried to be passive aggressive. I'm sure she created a brief smear campaign about me behind my back. None of that stuff worked. And she didn't last. I wasn't even there a week and a half, and I had to get her removed from the building, and she wound up getting fired. Okay, which is shocking now that I'm no longer there. That they got rid of anybody like them. Like everybody in that building has no presence of God, and this woman was just like everybody in that building. As a matter of fact, my manager had promoted this person prior to my arrival. So it goes to show you what they thought of that evil. But immediately you're going to notice that when you're out there and you're dealing with these worldly women, they're not going to have a positive response to you, okay? They may initially be attracted by your light because they're trying to siphon your energy as an energy vampire, but really quickly your spirit's going to irritate their demons. Number two. So the number two reason that you should not date a worldly woman is the shallow Hal effect. Let me explain. So many years ago, and I guess I'm showing my age here, but there was a movie called Shallow Hal. And the movie stars Jack Black and the guy from Seinfeld, I forget his name, and Jason Alexander. And in this movie, I think Gwyneth Paltrow is also in the movie. In this movie, Jack Black is a womanizer. And he spends his whole life centered around picking up women, which I can relate to for a good part of my life. In my late 20s, early 30s. I just wanted to go out. I wanted to perfect my game, be able to have a lot of confidence, go up to these women and say things that I knew they weren't hearing from other men. And I did a good job with that for many years. But in essence, what I was doing is I was feeding the beast. I was placating to what Satan is putting forth in his agenda through feminism, constantly trying to placate to women, right? But God teaches us the opposite. But in this movie, Shallow Hal, Jack Black's character gets hypnotized by Tony Robbins. And through this hypnosis, he no longer sees women for the exterior beauty. He sees them for their interior beauty. In essence, what Hollywood was doing here was talking about one's soul and the difference between the exterior and the interior, right? A wolf in sheep's clothing. Outwardly, they appear as a sheep. Inwardly, they're a ravening wolf. And this movie had such an impact on me when I woke up because I realized that I was suffering from the shallow Hal effect. I no longer saw women, and this is what I'm currently going through, and I have been for some time. I no longer see women for their exterior beauty. When I look at a woman, instantly, because I have such keen discernment from God, I'm able to try the spirit and know what type of person they are on the inside. And there's been not many, but a few women here since I've been in the state that I'm in that maybe they're not to the world physically beautiful, but inside they were amazingly attractive. Just a beauty beyond any of these girls that I've seen down here. And where I am is a tourist trap, and it's nothing but women in bikinis and things like that, okay? So that shallow Hal effect has taken hold of me. But when you're dealing with a worldly woman, it's the opposite, right? There's a woman in the movie who's very, very attractive physically, but when Hal looks at her, He sees her for the hag that she is because she's vile on the inside. She's a wicked soul. So she looks like this old woman smoking cigarettes. You know, she's a nurse, right? Which is ironic that they chose that career to depict that character. But let me bring up a scripture on this. Matthew 7:15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ravening wolves. Now, a lot of times that verse is used to talk about, you know, false pastors, false priests, people who are presidents, heads of companies and governments and things like that. But that verse also applies to the worldly woman, because she's going to come to you packaged in something that's beautiful physically to the world. Right? Not to me anymore, but to the world. But inwardly, she's vile. She's full of uncleanness and dead man's bones. And my testimony on this is just the other day, because where I'm at, it's spring break, and all the college girls are coming down here. And I had to pick up these girls, 4 girls. And this was 3. There were 7 girls going to a house party. And they had to use two lifts, 2 rides. And 3 got in my car, 4 got in the car of the guy in front of me. I felt bad for him. And they got in my car, and basically they were covered by like a napkin and a string. I mean, their outfits were so skimpy, I could not believe it as they walked out of the hotel that they were going to go out in public dressed like this. They were probably, I don't know, 22, 21, maybe 23. And they get in my car, and instantly the shallow hal effect kicked in. And as I looked at them, I was just kind of like nauseous in my stomach. Like I wouldn't even look in my rear view, because just the look of them made me, because their soul, I picked up on it instantly. It made me sick. And I sat through 35 minutes of that 40-minute ride. I didn't say a word to these girls. And I'm listening to their conversation, and they're just this pure emptiness on the inside. And at one point, one of the girls had to call her mother, and she put her on FaceTime, and the mother said, "Oh my God, cover yourself up. I can't believe you're going out like that." But like she said it serious but joking. Like you could see how these girls run wild when they have poor parents who just are accepting and tolerant of this behavior. But at one point, somebody cut me off because the drivers down here are horrible, and I made a sign like that, and the girl started talking to me. And when I opened up my mouth and I started to, I guess, kind of preach, I didn't go right away to like a Bible verse, but I eventually incorporated it. They were mesmerized by my speech. They were dumbfounded. They just kept staring at me through the rear view. The reason that they were is because I know that they've never heard anybody speak to them the way that I was speaking to them. And it was impacting them in a big way. And you'll realize this with the worldly women. They're not used to people that do not tread shallow water. Everybody in their world is surface level. You know, they're hitting on them, and they're looking to hook up, and they're looking to have sex and get drunk and then talk about it the next day and go to breakfast with their girlfriends and laugh and all that. And that's fun to them, right? But to the man of God, these worldly women, when you do have that shallow hal effect, where you no longer see them in the vantage point that the world sees them, now you see them for who they really are, because God has removed the scales from your eyes, then you know you have nothing in common with this person, nor are you in any way attracted to them physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, anything. Number 3. The number 3 reason why you should not date the worldly woman is, and they all do this, they think they have this whole world figured out. If you're ever talking to a worldly woman, she's convinced that she knows exactly where she needs to go, what she needs to do, what's going on in the world, and there's nothing that you can do or say that she does not already know, right? And the last thing that a worldly woman is going to allow is herself to be led by a man of God. They want nothing to do with that. They don't want anything to do with righteousness. They don't want anything to do with you, the righteous man, because you're a constant reminder to the sin in which they're living that they don't want to give up. Proverbs 7:10-11. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of a harlot. and subtle of heart. She is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house. See, I use that verse to describe these women that think they know the whole world, but I mean, it basically describes the three girls that went to that party, that house party. And if I was the guy at that house party and I didn't know what I know, right, and I was of the world, when I looked at them walking into that house party, I would think, okay, these girls are here. These are harlots. These are hoes. They're here to have sex. They're here to party, get drunk, and have sex, because that's what you're saying to the world when you show your body like that. It's anybody. I'm for the street. Anybody can have me. Everybody gets to see my body. It's not special for my man, right? And Solomon talks about it here in Proverbs 7:10 through 11. They have an attire of a harlot, but they're subtle of heart. Who also was subtle in the Bible? Satan in the Garden of Eden, and how he lured Eve with subtlety. So subtlety seems to be a prevailing theme in the Bible regarding women, right? Either they're lured by it or they use it to entice. Subtlety is another way to say witchcraft. So she is loud and stubborn. So all these women were loud. They like to be the center of attention. They're not going to listen to you. They're not going to hearken onto your message. They're stubborn because they think they know what's going on in this world. And if you were to tell them some truths, like the truths that I reveal on my website and YouTube, or the truths that you know in my audience, they're going to laugh at you if it challenges their belief system. They will laugh at you. And the testimony I have on this is a testimony I talked about a couple of videos ago, where I had a woman in my car who used to drive for Uber. She was dropping F-bombs left and right, but she claims to be a woman of God and Jesus Christ, right? Again, try the spirit. And she said she's a Hebrew Israelite. So I talked about that in the 17 biggest lies. No, I talked about that in my 25 red flags to content creators. I talked about this testimony. And I exposed that whole Hebrew Israelite movement. Okay? But when you're dealing with women like this is a woman who actually went out of her way to file a false claim against me, because I quoted 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12, which is, I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over a man, but to be in silence. So I quoted that. That irked her spirit so much. God's word irked her spirit so much that she came out and she tried to cross a man of God. And, and the Bible makes it clear, touch not my anointed, do my prophets no harm, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I asked God instantly to bring that woman into the judgment. But this is what happens. These women think they have the whole world figured out. And when you, the man of God, come to them, right, because you're trying to reprove them, probably out of love, because we're born empaths. So you're trying to reprove them so this way they no longer continue to err in the faith, and you give them the truth, so you exempt your soul from judgment like Ezekiel, the watchman, right? You're here to warn the wicked to flee their wickedness and the righteous to choose a side. Many are lukewarm, but this woman wasn't even lukewarm. She was lost, and I tried to help her. But you can't help the worldly woman because they know everything. Number 4. The number 4 reason why you, the man of God, cannot date a worldly woman is they do not know their role. These worldly women do not know the role that's been bestowed onto them from God. They don't know the Bible, and the ones that do know the Bible conveniently skip over this verse. 1 Corinthians 11:3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man. Let me repeat. And the head of the woman is the man. And the head of Christ is God, right? So God can't be the head of himself, for all you people who believe that Jesus Christ is God, and all you deceivers on YouTube that are being paid to say that, okay? Jesus Christ is the Son of God. God can't be the head of himself. And 1 Corinthians 11:3 makes it clear that the man is the head of the woman. So you're here to serve man. You're not here to rule over man. You're not here to educate man. You're not here to teach men the Bible. You're here to have the man lead you. And in the same respect, the man needs to honor, love, protect, lead, provide for, and respect his woman. That's called a symbiotic relationship, and it's what God has created us for, right? And my testimony on this is a pretty good one. Years ago, this is I was being brought to the truth. I wasn't strong in the word like I am now, but I believe at this time when I had this relationship, I had read the Bible. I was going on the second time reading the Bible. And I met this girl, and she owned her own company. And she had been in a series of, not good relationships before me. So there was a lack of trust that she had towards men, which I understood. And, not giving any personal details about the woman, I will say that we connected, and I thought that we were equally yoked because I didn't have strong discernment, because she was talking about how much she loved God and Jesus Christ and all those things. But in essence, as I started to get to know her better, I realized her rebellion to what God had her, the role that God had for her, right? For all women. She rebelled against that role. And the book of Samuel makes it clear rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. So she was rebelling against what God wanted her to be. And the reason why is because she can't take accountability. She can't take accountability for choosing horrible men. So her response to that is, okay, I'm never going to let a man control me. I'm going to provide for myself. I don't need a man. I'm going to be this career-oriented woman, which I know a lot of worldly women go through this. They date demonic men. Those men do them dirty. They have a legitimate argument against these men. And instead of saying, hey, you know what, I need to look in the mirror because I chose that man. No, the way they do is they take that trauma and then they harness it into something wicked, and that becomes the mantra of their life. And they embrace feminism, and they embrace this I don't need a man mentality, which causes all this witchcraft because it's rebellion. And many women that I've spoken to, that I've tried to counsel, fit into this criteria because they don't know their role. They don't want to accept it. And because of her unwillingness to accept God's role for her, she stepped into a role which she feels is ordained by God because she achieved success financially, because she was successful. She did very well for herself. And when I met her, I wasn't doing well. I had no money. I was working, but I wasn't making nearly the money that she was making. So in this world, the worldly woman is going to look down on you. She's going to think that she's here to teach you because she's more successful in this world. But in essence, God was bringing me to her to humble her, and she couldn't. And we went back and forth via email after we discontinued our brief relationship. And I told her in my last email, which I spoke strongly, and I'll never speak to this girl again, I told her that she's lost. And there's not going to be another opportunity for salvation because she's unwilling to accept the truth. And you're going to realize that a lot of these women that don't know their role are going to take that to their grave. And you can't change them because they are of the world, and speak they of the world, and the world heareth them. Number 5. Let me see if the video is still going. All right, guys, good. Number 5. So the number 5 reason that you should not date the worldly woman is they resist accountability at all cost. A worldly woman will never be accountable for her wrongdoings and her evil ways and her wickedness. She will never take accountability. She will never take accountability for the mistakes that she's made in the decisions of the people who she's chosen to be with. It's not in a worldly woman to do that. And God knows this. And he judges them because God tries the heart. Jeremiah 17:10. I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doing. See, God's going to give these women, he's going to try them and judge them based on the fruit of their doings, on their choices, on their belief systems, on their reluctance to accept God's word, on their reluctance to embrace a man of God, on their willingness to go after demonic men, on their willingness to lean on their own understanding. A man who wanders out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead, in the book of Proverbs. And so a man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. And these women, they wandereth way out of the way of understanding, and they will remain in the congregation of the dead. And my testimony on this, and I talk about this a lot, I've prayed, there's not much more I can do, because my testimony is my mother. My mother, I believe now at this point, it doesn't matter what happens to her in her life, she's never going to take accountability for the evil that she put forth to my life. She will never take accountability for all the things that she's done to me and all the people who she's hurt. She's not going to do it. I am convinced 100% she's going to take it to the grave. And there's reasons why I say that. And so that's okay, because that's her choice. She has free will. I don't harness any ill feelings towards her. She's tried to destroy me since I was a little kid, and she's continuing to do that. And that's okay, because what you have to realize is that if you're chosen by God, God puts you into these families that are ridden with generational curses. There's all kinds of curses in my family. Every single one of my family members cursed one way or another. They have some sort of issue that they're dealing with, and they don't want to take accountability, and they don't want to admit that's what they're dealing with. That's why they hate me. That's why in all the years now that I've left, this is going on over 2 years since I left New Jersey, and all the struggles that I've had, and my family stalks my page, they've never once tried to help me. They've never once tried to reach out and apologize for what they did. They never once tried to ask me, hey, Greg, what's going on? Because they don't care, because they're of the world. And my family represents the worldly women, right? I have men in my family that fit this criteria too as well. But the worldly women, they don't care. They're never going to take accountability. They don't have any empathy. They don't feel sorry for what they did. If they ever tried to come back and hit you with an apology, it's only because they're trying to lasso you back in so they can destroy you, because they're hurt by the fact that you just walked away and ghosted them. So now they want to bring you back into that world to destroy you, because they're clutched onto that hurt, that pain that they experienced by you just up and leaving and ghosting and deleting and blocking their number. Number 6. So the number 6 reason why you can't date a worldly woman is they love to play the victim. My mother loves to play the victim. The girls that I broke up with, especially most likely my most recent ex, which was 2 years ago, I'm sure she played the victim. She played the role where, oh my God, he's crazy. Look at what he did. I loved him. Blah, blah. She made it look really good to make it seem like she was the victim. Same thing with my mother when I up and left at 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, look at what my son did. He doesn't love his mother, all this stuff. All that's nonsense. I had nothing but love for everybody in my family, especially my mom, right? Even though she did what she did to me my whole life, when I moved into the second floor of the home to which she owns, I sat her down numerous times and I had conversations with her to try to help her address the issues that she had. If I didn't love her, why would I do that? I wouldn't waste time even having conversation with her. So the whole victim nonsense, you're going to see that these evil worldly women, they're going to play that victim role. And they play it because they're trying to perform witchcraft. They're trying to gaslight. We're going to get to that in a minute. They're trying to manipulate you into believing something that's not true. That they weren't the perpetrator all along, they were the victim. But the truth is they were the perpetrator. And there's a great story in the Bible that depicts this. It's 2 Kings 11, 1 through 2 and 13 through 14. And when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal. Stop there. So Athaliah, wanting to assume the position of queen and be in power, when she saw her son was dead, she knew that the heir would be one of the seed. So she killed the seed. So she thought. She killed all the seed royal of Ahaziah, and she assumed control. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons, which were slain. And they hid him, even him and his nurse, in the bedchamber from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. Okay? So let's stop there. So Athaliah, thinking that all Ahaziah, her son's sons, were now dead, so no one could assume the throne but her, so she killed every one of them. But God strikes down judgment, and he protected Joash, right, through Jehosheba. Jehosheba saved Joash, okay? So now the people of Israel get together, and when Joash is of age, he was still young, but of age, they anointed him king. And Athaliah now realizes the gig is up. Okay, so she realized the evil that she did. What does she do here? Let's listen, okay? And when she looked, behold, the king, Joash, stood by a pillar, as the manner was, and the princes and the trumpeters by the king, Joash. And all the people of the land rejoiced and blew with trumpets. And Athaliah rent her clothes and cried, treason, treason. So what happened there? Okay? So this demon, this worldly woman, realized the gig was up. She realized that now her plan collapsed. So what does she do? She plays the victim. The worldly women who know that they're guilty love to play the victim. And in the end, crying, treason, treason, right? As she's the victim, woe is me. Meanwhile, she murdered her son's children, her grandchildren, murdered all of them but one. And I never talk about my sister in any of my videos. And my sister, you know, when they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and not that I want to be a talebearer to my audience about my personal life, but I feel like if I relay to you what I'm going through, it might be relatable to the children of God out there to know that your whole family is going to turn on you when you give your life to God and Jesus Christ, if they're not fully connected to God and Jesus Christ. If you're lucky enough to have one or multiple family members that are really on this narrow path, that's amazing. I'm not seeing that. And the testimonies that I'm hearing from people that are actually chosen by God, that are out there on fire for God, preaching the real truth, I'm not seeing that. But my sister, very similar to my mother, loves to play the victim. And without going into too much detail, my sister played the victim in a house that we co-owned and put me on the street playing the victim to my father. Okay. She has the same demonic spirit in her because she's the lineage of my mother as my mother has. And her judgment's coming if it hasn't hit her already. Because her whole life has been an agenda to destroy me since we were young. And it continues to this day. And I don't mention her in my videos because I feel nothing for her. I don't even pray for her anymore because unlike my mother, my sister is a very special diabolical evil to which it's hard for me to put into words. But I had to let go of all that hurt that I experienced being around her my whole life. And in essence, I have to understand that the reason why she's like that is because of my mother. My mother created that. And I have to pray that she could see the light of her evil and beg for forgiveness. And I remember when she did what she did to me, I didn't speak to her for many years. And then she contacted me through my dad. She didn't even, my dad gave her my phone number because we didn't even have each other's number. And she called me to give me a fake apology. You'll notice these worldly women do this. And she said, it's been brought to my attention that what I did hurt you. And if that's the case, I'm sorry. Which is not an apology. That's the way demons apologize. Because there's something that you have that they want. So they have to try to make nice with you to get that thing to happen. Right? A real apology, when you try the heart like God does, is you really feel genuinely sorry for what you did. The evil and the lies that you are participating in. that my whole family supported you in the participation of lies, when you really repent for that, then you have a shot to get on the narrow path. And short of that, my sister, along with my mother, their judgment is sealed. And they don't have a repentative spirit. And they don't know God. They don't know Jesus Christ. Not one member of my family has ever read the Bible cover to cover. They go to church. They're Catholic. They believe in that false doctrine. And there's nothing I can do or say to help them. The only thing I can do is release the unforgiveness spirit that I have towards them and give it to God, right? When Jesus Christ, Peter's talking to Jesus Christ, and he says, how many times should I forgive, sir, Rabbi? 7 times? And Jesus Christ says, no, 7 times 70. This is very popular in the church because the church wants you to believe that you should keep taking these people back, right? They want you to believe that because they are of these people. They're the same. They're the same demons that are running the church is the same in your family, okay? But what the message to that story is, you should forgive them in your heart. That does not mean you should take them back. And I had to work on it because it wasn't easy. My family really did me dirty. And it's very hurtful to know that your family has gone out of their way to try to destroy you, and you've never done anything to them. And so you have to wonder, that's how you know the whole world's spiritual. You have to wonder why they do this, and you go through years and years and years, and you harness the spirit of unforgiveness, and it's just this hatred that affects you, and it affects the way you treat people. And so ultimately you have to get to the point where you no longer feel that way about them, and you're able to evolve past that. And I have, but it doesn't mean that I forgot. I don't forget the evil that is existing within them. And God tells us to have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. So I do these videos because I know my family stalks my page in hopes that I might shake them enough to tell them that I'm aware of their evil. They're not getting away with it. They're going to be judged by it. And maybe that might cause them to have a little introspection and repent and ask God for forgiveness and desire to have a relationship with God and ask me for forgiveness, right? Because God's looking for that too. Number 7. The number 7 reason to not date a worldly woman is their goal is to destroy you through a soul tie. Okay, so these women, especially the ones on the dating sites, they want to sleep with you. They may sleep with you once and never talk to you again. Their goal is just to get the soul tie. That's their mission, right? Sometimes they succeed in their mission and sometimes they fail. But their goal is to get the soul tie. I'm not saying that as soon as they sleep with you, they're going to leave. Some of them will. Some of them will stay because they have a further mission to keep you trapped or keep you away from God's purpose. But let's bring up a verse in this, John 10:10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. So I think back, even, I could take any of the girls that I dated since I gave my life to God and Jesus Christ, but they have this goal to sleep with you. And that's their mission. And I have an example here of my ex, my most recent ex, but a better example is the girl that I dated right before her. That girl she could care less about me. So did my ex. None of these girls love you. They don't like you. They don't even like you. How about that? Forget about loving you. They don't even like you. You're just an assignment to them. They're working for Satan. Satan gives them little benefits in this world, whatever he gives them. But they have to do these assignments. They're given these assignments. They're given these men's lives to destroy. These are worldly women. You think that they're just somebody who's got emotional trauma or childhood trauma or they were abused as a kid. They're going to tell you stories like that too, but that's not the reason. The reason they're evil like this is because they're working directly for Satan. Most of them knowingly, some of them unknowingly, okay? And I remember, and I talked about this story before, this date that I went on where I was like, I had a couple of drinks and I didn't want to drive, hour and a half, 2 hours to get home. And I wound up spending the night at this girl's house. I could tell she was under spiritual attack, and the demon inside of her was instructing her vehemently to sleep with me, and I wouldn't. And I've never seen anybody act like this. Her conduct was abnormal. And her desperation did not fit the rest of the night, and how she was so desperate to be with me. And has nothing to do with the way I look, or I look pretty, or I look good, or I got game. None of that. It was all spiritual. It was an attack. And know that being a man of God means that you're going to be under attack when you put yourself in these compromising positions. I should not have put myself in that compromising position, but now I know better. Number 8. The number 8 reason why you should not date the worldly woman is they want to rule over you. These women want to control you. They literally want and I got a better example than the girl that I was going to talk about here, but this was a long time ago. They want to control everything about you. They want you to constantly placate to them. They believe in the mantra, happy wife, happy life. And that's it. And they subscribe to that, and they think that they're the best thing since sliced bread. And that's it. You're never going to do better than them. And they're convinced of this. They are delusional, and the delusion exists primarily in the fact that they've been successful with this mantra, portraying this mantra onto every man before you. So they think now that they're dealing with you, it's going to be, one and the same. But it's not when you're dealing with a man of God. And these worldly women want to rule over you. Proverbs 21:9, it is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house. These women, the constant fights, the constant berating. I was actually scrolling through YouTube, which I'm trying to get better with, not, like those videos that are like 20 seconds or 30 seconds, these shorts. And a guy was filming himself throwing his girl out of the house. He goes, listen, this isn't working. You got to leave. And she said, I'm not going anywhere. And he's like, no, listen, this is my house. This isn't like a debate. I'm telling you, I want you out of the house. She goes, honey, what's the matter? You didn't eat? Are you hungry? I ain't going nowhere. If you go, you go. We leaving together. Come on, baby, just calm down. Like she was using all this witchcraft back on this guy to gaslight him into thinking that he don't really want her to leave. And the whole time in the video, he kept telling her, listen, the next step is I'm going to call the cops. You need to get out of my house. I want nothing to do with you. This relationship isn't working for me today. It wasn't working yesterday. It's not going to work tomorrow. We're done. And she would not accept no for an answer because these women are used to ruling over men. They think that they can portray their witchcraft on you because truthfully, on the inside, they feel like you're stupid. They feel like they are dominant over you and superior over you in every way, emotionally, intellectually, physically, spiritually. These women will even fight you, physically fight you. So they want to rule over you, these worldly women, and they don't know their role, and they're ridden with that Jezebel spirit that's caused them to latch on to feminism. And this reminds me of a girlfriend I had many, many years ago. And when I met her, I was actually just graduating high school, and I went out to a club the night before I was heading down to Florida with my best friend from high school to celebrate the graduation of my high school. And I went out to this club, and I spent like most of the night there, and then I got out of there like 4 a.m, and I had a 7:00 flight, and it was like a 3-hour flight, and I said, okay, I'll sleep on the flight, and I go and I hand the stewardess my ticket. And she goes, oh, my God, you were at this club in Manhattan last night. I saw you. You were chewing gum. I was going to ask you for a piece of gum, blah, 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 blah. And that's how we exchanged numbers. Turns out she was going to South Beach the next day, and I was going to, like, North Florida. I was going to Orlando. And she's like, oh, my God, we got to get together when I'm down there, whatever. Long story short, we wound up getting together when she got back up. She was from New York. I lived in Jersey. And so when we got back up north, and we dated. And this was one of the worst 2 to 3 month relationships, but I was like, I wasn't a real man back then. I was a beta pretending to be alpha. I was goo goo gaga for this girl, and I really wanted the relationship to work. I really was attracted to her, and I was taking her to dinner. I was taking her to Broadway shows. I was doing all these things for this girl because, I was hypnotized by this witchcraft that she was performing over me. And it was always like she was never happy. We would go to the restaurant. She didn't like what was on the menu. She wanted to order something off the menu. We went to the Broadway show. She didn't like the seats where we were sitting. She was always complaining about something because she was a worldly woman. The irony in this is when I finally put my foot down, her and I had planned a trip for my birthday. We went down to South Beach, and she was giving me nonsense in South Beach. And I told her, no, this isn't how it's going to work. It's not going to be your way. It's going to be my way. And if you don't like it, tough. And she couldn't deal with that. And she up and left. I didn't even know she left. I went to the gym. She up and left and went back to New York. And that was the end of our relationship. Many years later, she reached back out to me after she got pregnant with, she married somebody and then had a child with that person and was living her whole life in regret. And she reached out to me and she said, "You're the biggest mistake of my life. And I wish I would have never, left you or did what I did to you. And please, can we give it another shot?" And I said to this girl, I was like, "Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind?" This is like 10 years later, 15 years later. And we met. I reluctantly, I met her. I was like, all right, the girl's talking like this. Let me just meet this girl. But I was I was a man of this world. I was not of God at that point. I hadn't read the Bible. I hadn't thought about like, okay, she's got a kid with another man. Like, why would I want to do that? She left me to come back to me. That's, recycled goods. I don't want that. But I met her, and it was funny because even though she was so desperate to try to get me back, she had changed a little bit, but there was still that remnant of her wanting to rule over the man. It was still inside her. And I'm going to tell you something. These worldly women, if you're a worldly woman and you want to get on the narrow path and you want to seek out God, it's going to be very difficult for you by yourself to change. You're going to have to pray on it and ask God to remove that demonic stronghold because there's no other way it's coming out of you. You can go 2 decades later and you're not changing because the only way that you can change is if you give it all to God. Number 9. So the number 9 reason why a godly man should not date a worldly woman is because these women are entitled, okay? They think that the world owes them something. They believe when you start dating them that you owe them, that you're lucky, you should feel privileged to be with them. This is what they believe. They've convinced themselves that they, when you take them out to dinner, I deserve that dinner. You buy them a car, I deserve that car. You buy them a house, I deserve that house. They're very entitled. And there's a great scripture that brings this up, 1 Kings 27, 7 through 10, okay? And Jezebel, his wife, said unto him, "Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thy heart be merry." Stop there. So this is when Ahab wanted to buy the vineyard of Naboth. And Naboth said, "Listen, I can't sell it to you because it's my inheritance. It's in my family lineage. I can't sell it to you. Like, it would be against God to sell it to you." And Ahab was really upset, and he didn't want to eat, and he comes back to the kingdom, and he's all down, and he tells this to Jezebel, and Jezebel says, "Wait a second, what are you talking about? You're the king of Israel, okay? I'll fix this. Don't worry." Going back to the entitlement, "I'll fix this. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite." So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal. So she's counterfeiting letters because of this entitlement. She feels like that vineyard is owed to her, right? And sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in the city, dwelling with Naboth. And she wrote in the letters, saying, "Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people, and set 2 men, the sons of Belial, before him." So the sons of Belial were the Baal worshipers, the demons, the people that she knew would lie and would be cohorts with her in this lie because she's entitled and she feels that she should have the vineyard, Naboth's vineyard. So the only way that she's going to get that vineyard is if she gets Naboth out of the picture. So she's creating this scheme through entitlement to kill him. And set 2 men, sons of Belial, before him to bear witness against him, saying, "Thou didst blaspheme God and the king," and then carry him out and stone him that he may die. Right? So these entitled women, they feel no matter what you do as a man of God, whether you're bringing them to the Bible, whether you get them rebaptized in water through fire and spirit in Jesus Christ's name, whatever it is, energy that you've devoted to these women, their entitlement is off the charts. And they're never going to appreciate. There's no appreciation in these people. They expect this behavior. And my testimony on this is a very wealthy girl that I dated. And I would do all these romantic things for her. I would, take her out to fancy dinners. I would write her love poems. I would invite her little brothers over to spend the weekend. We have a nice weekend plan. No matter what I did for this girl, she never appreciated it. She just expected it. And not only that, when I would do things, she would complain because it wasn't exactly done the way that she wanted it, or we should have did this instead of that. You're going to deal with that with the worldly woman. Don't waste your time dating these women. Number 10. So the number 10 reason why the godly man should not date the worldly woman is they love the concept of work. These women love the concept of work more than they love raising a family and children. So if they were given the choice, can they go to work or can they take care and provide for their family and their children, they're going to choose work 10 out of 10 because they're of the world. And the world has convinced them that you don't want to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. That's a nightmare. So they all believe that, right? They believe that that life is a nightmare, the life that God has bestowed onto them, the life that God wants them to lead. That's a nightmare to them. Proverbs 31:27 through 28. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. So that is the opposite of what these worldly women want. These worldly women want the work. They want the job, and the reason they want the job is because I don't need a man, I make my own money, right? They want to rule over men. They want to be in positions of management. They want to run for president. They want to do all these things that men do because they want to prove to the world that they don't need to listen to God. Okay? And my testimony on this is a girl that I lived with. I was absolutely in love with this girl. There was nothing more that I could have did in the relationship to make it work. She was like over 10 years younger than me, and we lived together. And my ex right before her, which is the girl I was describing in the previous example, she was texting me nonstop. And it wasn't because she missed me. She realized that I didn't miss her, and that bothered her because these worldly women can't deal with rejection. So she kept texting. I never responded. And I knew that she was a little loopy, and I knew that there was a chance that she might try to find where I was living and show up at the house. And so I had to put a stop to it. But before that happened, she had sent me provocative pictures of her and in an attempt to see if I would respond to that. And my girlfriend at the time, who I lived with, who I was in love with, who I wasn't even thinking about my ex, she happened to steal the passcode to my phone, and she saw the pictures. And she flipped out. And we had and she was very young, immature, whatever, and we had a huge conversation. I told her, listen, I'm in love with you. I want to be with you. We're going to be married. We're going to have kids and all that. So don't let this distract. This is the goal of this demon that's doing this. And she, eventually she calmed down, and I was like, you know what? I need to meet this person. And I need to meet her and tell her, like, hey, listen, you need to leave me alone. Like, if she heard me say the words, she would understand that I've moved on, right? Like, I want nothing to do with her. And there's a story with that, which is not affiliated to this example. But the reason I bring up this girl that I live with is I met her at a networking event. And she was all about working and being in the workforce and being this woman in feminism, and she embraced all that stuff. And she took a passenger seat temporarily while we were in a relationship, but every now and again, that need to be at work, that need to be out there and be successful and be in the public eye and all that would shine through, and her and I would have big brawls. And it would be a huge blowout, huge fight, because you're not going to be able to take the world out of the woman. They're always going to be that way. And if you're with a girl right now and she's an executive in a company, or she's going to a whole bunch of networking events and she's talking about all these things professionally, and she's trying to lead you in that path, and she's trying to guide you and be a teacher of you, that woman is of the world and you cannot change her. Number 11. The number 11 reason why the man of God should not date a worldly woman is they pretend to be of God and Jesus Christ, but they actually hate his word, and they have no fruit, zero fruit. So there's a lot of women out there that claim to be of God and Jesus Christ. And when you have as much discernment as God has gifted me, you'll know instantly that's a deceiver. You know instantly that's a fraud, that's a counterfeit, right? I pick up on these things really quickly. But the lukewarm men of God actually are led by these women. And these women are taking these men to church, and they're trying to fix these men, okay? If you're that guy and you're with a woman who's trying to bring you to God and get you to read the Bible and all that, you're with the wrong woman. A, you're not ready for a woman because you should have done all this work before you met the woman. But B, that woman will forever feel that she's superior to you spiritually. And you can't be with a woman like that. You can't lead a woman like that. That type of woman is never going to be led by you. She'll always remember that she knew more than you in the word when you first met, and she'll judge you by that, right? That's why the Bible tells you the last shall be first, the first shall be last. I'm only 4 years reading the Bible. I'm on the 11th time reading the Bible in the book of Isaiah. I read the Bible 11 times in 4 years. There's people that have been reading the Bible for 50 years, right? And that's why God says the last shall be first, the first shall be last. I'm absorbing it on such a high level that my retention is better, I would say, than people that have been doing this for a long time, because they kind of almost take it for granted, right? They're not on fire for God, and they don't have a very distinct purpose. 2 Corinthians 11, 13 through 15, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. See, these people out here that pretend to be of God and Jesus Christ, they have no fruit. They come to you as an angel of light. And I dated, I hate to say I dated because it sounds like I was this womanizer, which in actuality I was at one point in my life, but I did date this girl. And we went on a first date, and I was like semi-attracted to her. I wasn't that attracted to her, but she's like, listen, I can't, she was really like jealous of me talking to other women, like on our first date. I'm like, where's this girl coming from? But I kind of liked it, I guess, you know. It's better than the women who pretend not to like you, right? Because they're too cool for school. But anyway, she was talking about how much she loved Jesus Christ, right? And she would constantly do things to contradict her love for Jesus Christ. In actuality, she had a lot of hatred against men, and because of daddy issues, you know, without getting too personal. And so that hatred would manifest itself towards me because she was still of the world, but she was claiming to be of God and Jesus Christ. And she was doing a lot of things of the world, and I would call her out on those things that she was doing, and she could not receive it. The reason she couldn't receive it is because she doesn't care about the truth. She doesn't care about God. She doesn't care about Jesus Christ. I even told her, you don't love Jesus Christ, and you're not of Jesus Christ. You're a fraud. You're a counterfeit. I said it just like that. And she started crying on the phone and this and that. And I said, listen, doesn't mean that you can't be having a relationship with God or Jesus Christ. It means that right now you don't have one. You think you have it, but you don't. And I want to help bring you to it. You know, I was trying to reprove her in a strong way because I had to be honest with her, but I cared about her. And but you know, I've since found out that she goes to like psychics and all. She does, again, these are worldly women. They don't know the Bible. They don't know that you shouldn't be around these tarot card readers and psychics and pendulums and Reiki healers and all these demons that are out there that are trying to lean on their own understanding and trying to summon the power of God, but they'll never have it. Having a form of God, but denying the existence thereof, right? Number 12. So the number 12 reason why the man of God should not date a worldly woman is they are infamous gaslighters. All these worldly women gaslight. Gaslighting is witchcraft. They're going to get you to misremember the truth to which you already know because they want to play with you. They want to manipulate you. They want to practice their witchcraft. All these worldly women do this. They all gaslight. Proverbs 6:24. To keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. These women are strange to us. They should be, because they're of the world. We're of God, right? We're on the narrow path. Broad is the gate and wide is the way that leadeth unto death, and many there be that go therein, right? These women are on the path to death. And if we hook up with them and latch onto them and we create a soul tie in a spiritual realm, that's where we're going. And my testimony on this is my ex. Now, she had said something to me. Again, I don't want to be a talebearer, but this is important. I want you guys to hear this, right? I don't think she stalks my page anymore. I'm sure she's moved on to another victim. But she had said something to me one day because she was an alcoholic. She had a problem with drinking, and the demons would really come out when she was drinking. And I told her, you need to stop. And she swore to God to me, because I was done with her. We're breaking up. We're done. I'm not dealing with this. She swore to God that she will never take another drink. So she went out to what she claims was some event. She was probably on a date with another guy, right? Most likely that's what it was. And she called me after the date because she's got to keep me believing the lies that she's telling me. So she called me after the date that she had with this guy, to which she drank. And I knew she was drunk. And she was denying it to me. And I'm like, I know that you drank. So what she said to me was, I didn't drink. All I did was have a shot. And I said, okay, well, this is how they gaslight. I said, well, what's a shot? Isn't that liquor? No, I didn't have any drinks. They put the pressure and they wanted to do this one shot, and I did this one shot, and I'm so proud that I said no to the drinks. And you're thinking to yourself, wait a second, am I hearing this? You said no to the drinks, but you had a shot. You swore an oath to God that you would never drink again, and you had a shot. You're trying to tell me that you want me to be proud of you because you said no to the drinks, but you drank a shot of liquor. This is the gaslighting. It's manipulation. I wouldn't tolerate it. I just hung up. I wouldn't deal with it. But again, that's what they like to do. They want you to have an excitable reaction because they're performing witchcraft on you. They don't care if they win or lose the argument. Their goal is to drain energy because they're a demon. That's all they know is demonic activity. Number 13. The number 13 reason the man of God should not date a worldly woman is they will destroy the lives of your future children if you have any with them. So your future children are going to be cursed with their curse. Just remember, 72,000 DNA, right? That's why 144,000 is the number talked about in the book of Revelation, the 144,000. It's 72,000 from the father, 72,000 from the mother. So 72,000 cells of DNA are coming from the mother, who's ridden with demons. And you're out there putting that curse on your children because you're fornicating with a demon and you're creating a soul tie in a spiritual realm. And God judges you with that. And these women will destroy the lives of those children. They're already ridden with the demonic spirit coming out of the womb. Psalms 58:3, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Okay, and these women will make sure that they put the nail in the coffin of your children because they're going to hit them with all kinds of manipulation and witchcraft because when they look at those children, they're going to see half of a reminder of you to which they hate and they're trying to destroy. Ecclesiastes 7:26. And I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets and her hands is bands. Whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. See, God, I please God. Even though I made huge mistakes, I fornicated with these women. I had relationships with these women. I should have never even been on a date with these women. I should have never even been on the dating platforms to meet these women, but I did. But I please God because God knew that I would eventually step into my Alpha King status role and be out there planting seeds of truth to expand his kingdom here, right? He knew that. So he allowed me to escape these demons. But you, the sinner, and I'm not saying you, everybody in my audience, but the sinners out there, you're not going to escape from this demon. This demon is going to destroy your life and the life of your future children. And the testimony I have is, with this girl that I dated, and I talked about her in a previous video, and I talked about her a little bit in this video. She was just, we weren't boyfriend, girlfriend. We just dated for maybe a month, maybe less. And she would constantly try to gaslight me into believing that her ex was the demon and she was the good one. And I would ask her, I said, well, if your ex is such a bad person, then why are your two daughters choosing to live with him, not you? Right? So they can't, the story doesn't hold up to the truth, right? When you start, they don't hold up, it doesn't hold up to questions. You can't be inquisitive to the demon's story, because eventually you'll be able to, especially with your discernment, determine that this person's lying to you. So their kids wanted nothing to do with her. I can only imagine the chaos and havoc and destruction that this demon caused in the lives of her children, right? And these worldly women, they will destroy your future children. Number 14. The number 14 reason why the godly man should not date a worldly woman is these women do not practice what they preach. They say, do as I say, not as I do, right? And that pretty much sums up everything, every characteristic about their personality. But James 1:8 says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Just supplement woman for man. A double-minded woman is unstable in all her ways. She's going to tell you that she wants you to do something, but she herself is not held to the same standard. She's exempt from that because they never practice what they preach. Number 15. The number 15 reason why a man of God should not be with a worldly woman is these worldly women are ruled by emotion. They don't have any reason in them whatsoever. They don't have the word of God in them. They don't care about the word of God. They only care about their emotion. They're constantly in their emotion. And that every decision that they make is ruled by that emotion. And again, that emotion is dictated by the demonic presence that's inside of them, because this woman is living in sin. Proverbs 7:25-27. Let not thy heart decline to her ways. Go not astray in her paths. Let's make sure the video is still running. Okay, yes. For she hath cast down many wounded. Yea, many strong men have been slain by her. Her house is the way to hell, going down to the chambers of death. It's unbelievable as you read the Bible. Like, you go through all these things, you never read the Bible, and then you read the Bible, you're like, oh my God, that God is talking about what I've just lived. I've just lived this experience, and here I am reading the Bible, and this is exactly what I went through. And this goes back to the girl that I did love this girl. And, I told you she was a lot younger than me, and we lived together. When she found out, and I was talking about the story before, but when she found out that I went to confront my ex to tell her that I've moved on and I'm in love with somebody else and I wish her the best, right? In a nasty way, I wanted to just be mature about it. When I finally got home after that meeting and I told my girlfriend, who I was in love with, and she was in love with me, I guess, maybe not. When I told her that, she blacked out. I mean, she just went red, and she started screaming. She started crying. She locked herself in the bedroom. I didn't even finish. I just said, she goes, where were you? I said, I just, met with my ex. She was screaming, calling all her friends, bad-mouthing me, called her mother, who was living in Florida at the time. She booked a trip to go and see her. And then she finally calmed down, like 4 hours later. And we were sitting outside in the balcony. And she said to me, why did you do it? I said, you don't even know what I did. You didn't even give me a chance to finish what I had to say. Like, I did this for us. And I told her, I said, I went to go meet my ex, and I told her that we're done. I want nothing to do with her. Don't contact me anymore. I'm in a relationship. I'm in love. I'm going to be with somebody else for the rest of my life. I want nothing to do with you. I wish you the best. Okay? And of course, my ex, driven in her ego, couldn't receive that. And she was like, oh, that's fine. I have all these guys that want me. I have the owner of a club in New York that is taking me to some isle in Greece and blah, blah, blah. I said, it's all great. I wish you the best of luck. But I wasn't concerned about that. I was concerned about doing what's right for my relationship with my girl. Even though I wasn't a man of God at the time, I was trying to lead the house in a direction which I felt was a path of least resistance in terms of any kind of negative pressure being put onto our relationship. And she said to me, I said to her, she was calm, and I said to her, I said, listen, why don't we do this? If you want to leave me, that's fine. I'm not going to stop you. Okay, I stand behind what I did. I did nothing to disrespect our relationship and the bond that we have. I did it for our relationship. But why don't you do this? Go see your mother. She was going away for a weekend down in Florida. When you get back, let's revisit this. If after you go down to see your mother and you come back, you still want to move out, then fine, move out. But I said, if you decide that you want to move out now and you tell me now, I'm going to hold you to it. And she said, no, I think that's a good idea. I'll go see my mom, and then when I get back, we'll revisit this conversation. So that was great, right? We went to bed, right? We weren't we weren't touchy-feely. We didn't hug each other, but we slept in the same bed. We didn't do, no love, no nothing, no hatred either. And the next day I went to work, and she went to work, and she called me while I was at work, and she said, you know what, Greg, I thought about it, and I'm moving out. And I said, listen, no problem. I told you I was going to hold you to it, and I told you what you should do. You agreed to it. Now you're rescinding what you had already agreed to. No problem. So she went to Florida, and then as soon as she left to go to Florida, I went ahead and found a roommate. And she called me while she was in Florida, and she must have spoke to her mother, and her mother was like, are you crazy? Call him back. Tell him you want to stay with him. And she called me, and she's like, I talked to my mother, and my mother says that I should stay with you. And I'm like, well, that's great that your mother says that, but it's too late. You're moving out. And I held her to it, and she moved out. And that was the end of our relationship. And then 6 months later, we tried to rekindle, and I was done with her. But anyway, the moral to that story, and I share these personal stories with you so you can help understand what a worldly woman does. She was ruled by emotion. She was blinded by her emotion. She could not think rationally. She would not listen to what I had to say. These worldly women don't have the ability to do that. A woman of God will do that. They have that foresight. They have that wisdom. They have that understanding. But a worldly woman goes red when you tell them something that they don't want to deal with. Number 16. The number 16 reason why the man of God should not date a worldly woman is that worldly woman hates the truth. Now, truth is hate for people who hate the truth, and these women hate the truth. They want nothing to do with the truth. What's the truth? Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. They don't want to know Jesus Christ. They don't want to know the truth. They just want to believe, and they want reinforcement that what they believe is true. So they want you to buy into their truth, not the truth. John 15:18 through 19. If the world hate you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. And these people hate you because you represent the truth, Jesus Christ. They hate you because they hate Jesus Christ. Even if they tell you they love Jesus Christ and they go to church, right? They hate the word, right? God wrote the word, and Jesus Christ is the deliverer of the word, right? In most of the New Testament with Paul. And here we are trying to preach the word to cover our whole household with the blood of Jesus, and they're denying the word, right? And this is most of the population, the female population that exists in the world. They don't want the truth. Again, they have a version of the truth to which many years through traumatic experiences they have latched onto and subscribe to, and this is their truth. And when they meet you, they want to make sure that you believe in their version of the truth. If you're bringing the real truth to the table and that real truth coincides with their version, they don't want to know you. They want nothing to do with you. Number 17. And thank you guys for sticking with me. I love you guys. I love you godly women out there. And I love you women who are brought to this video and are now doing some introspection to try to figure out if you need to change things in your life because you're guilty of one or more of the reasons why a godly man should not be with a worldly woman. And you, in essence, are realizing as you do this self-assessment that you have misdiagnosed who you really are, and you realize you got some work to do. I love you for doing that. Number 17. So the number 17 reason why a godly man should not date a worldly woman is ultimately they don't want you. And that, my friend, is a true blessing. Count it all joy that God has saved you from this woman. They don't want you. The worldly woman might tolerate you for a small time being because they're sent to destroy you, but they don't want you. They're not interested in a man who's going to offer conviction and bring about change in their life. They don't want that. And let's end it with this. Psalms 10, 7 through 9. Love you guys. And we're going to replace his with her. Her mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under her tongue is mischief and vanity. She sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doth she murder the innocent. Her eyes are privily set against the poor. She lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. She lieth in wait to catch the poor. She doth catch the poor when she draweth him into her net.